Today, we are going to continue to look at the information regarding the monetary figures that Consolidation Coal Company reported to the court when the dividend payouts to the stock and bondholders came into account. Something to consider here. Even though Elk Horn Coal Corporation had its attorneys present, they were not named as part of this reorganization. For some reason, the two companies were not linked in Judge Coleman's mind at this point. This would play a larger role in the 1950s bankruptcy case. But for now, the main corporation itself is facing reorganization. All aboard the Kentucky Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. And to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger time machine to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. Taking everything into account. In this case, Federal District Judge William C. Coleman handed down some hard truths to the bond and stockholders in the Consolidation Coal Company and Elk Horn Coal Corporation. We understand that this part is also a little dry, but it is important stuff for what happened to the coal towns in eastern Kentucky after this ruling. 1. That the criteria had been met, that there was no discrimination of the needs of the creditors over the needs of the stock and bondholders, that the plan was fair and equitable. 2. The point of the reorganization was to rehabilitate the financial standing of Consolidation Coal Company, and this would include the feasible and satisfactory methods for reducing the company's excessive capitalization or expenditures. 3. That all of the assets were met according to statutory prerequisites. Justicia law states the following, quote, the assets are as follows: 73% of the 5% bonds, 82% of the 4% bonds, 97% of the preferred stock, 68% of the common stock, and all of the collateral notes. It is further very significant that out of 1,608 separate holders of the common stock, 618 have assented, or some 38%. 533 of the total number of common stock shareholders held less than 10 shares. 1,075 held more than 10 shares, of which 467, or roughly 43%, have deposited. Unquote. All right, what does this all mean anyway? Granted, I'm not an attorney either, even though more and more I find these rulings and their aftermaths interesting. But here is what I gathered from this so far. Basically, the stocks and bondholders were not being forgotten in this plan, and their needs were being taken into account. However, their needs would not be taken into consideration over the needs of the Consolidation Coal Company. Judge Coleman was not about to further cripple the company, but he was willing to ratify the case to give the bond and stockholders a voice in the proceedings. Now, before we paint the bond and stockholders as the black hat, mustache twirling, tying a lady to a train rail villain here, they weren't. They had either invested their hard-earned money into a company or were given stock and or bonds because of their services that they provided. These guys legitimately had a reason to be concerned that they were going to lose all of their money in this case, and they wanted to be treated fairly, which Judge Coleman seriously tried to do. But then again, as the old saying goes, this is the risk of doing business. Analysis of the existing business. This is how the company's finances looked before the reorganization plan. Prepare yourself. It's a whole lot of money we're talking about here. Also, please take into account that even though we do have the first look at the numbers that are being spoken about here, Justicia Law used an AI to round their numbers and also to do their case summaries. So, even though this is the only way we could find this case outline, we do state here that the numbers may be off. Hopefully, in time, we can have the actual case come online and we can find out what the actual numbers were and if they had been skewed. The expenditures for the Consolidation Coal Company chart. Existing 5% secured gold notes, $4 million. Refunding 4.5% bonds, $3,398. First, and refunding 5% bonds, $18,733,000. Total, $26,131. Preferred stock, $10 million. Common stock, $40,015,748. Total, $50,015,748. Miscellaneous debt current, $166,623.62. Total, $76,313,371.62. Proposed notes, 15-year, 5%, $4 million. Bonds, 25-year, 5% income bonds for 3 years, $9,192,200. Preferred stock, non-cumulative, $6,639,300. Common stock, PV, $25, $7,634,450. Additional common stock reserved. 1. For conversion of preferred, 265,572 shares. 2. For exercise of warrants, 100,039.37 shares. Total, 27,465,950. Now, hold on to your bowler hats and bonnets because here we go with what these numbers would have looked like for today. According to the CPI, or inflation calculator, $1 in 1935 would be equal to $23.03 of buying power today. We will redo this chart with today's numbers for a better picture of how things were. Yes, some of these numbers were millions with a M and billions with a gigantic B. These numbers were calculated from our previous chart. And we do ask everyone to take into account that Justicia Law admits that they use that AI to round the numbers and summaries. This chart is only to give you a feel of how the numbers that we were given are, and they are to be adjusted into taking account inflation over the years. Today, the expenditures of the Consolidation Coal Company. Existing 5% secured gold notes, $92,114,744.53. Refunding 4.5% bonds, $78,251,475.47. First, and refunding 5% bonds, $431,396,377.30. Total, $601,762,597.30. Preferred stock, $5,303,203,849.29. Common stock, $921,510,101. Total, $1,103,849,203. $151,796,962.32. Miscellaneous debt current $3,837,123.05. Total $1,757,396,682.66. Proposed notes 15-year 5%. $92,114,744.53. Bonds 25-year 5% income bonds for 3 years. $211,684,288.66. Preferred stock non-cumulative $152,894,355.83. Common stock PV $25. $175,811,352.84. Additional common stock reserved. 1 for conversion of preferred. $6,115,774.23. 2 for exercise of warrants. $2,303,775.25 shares. Total $632,504,741.85. Whew! That is a whole lot of money that is outgoing just for stocks and bonds. But, like we said before, these people had invested their money and or time into the company and was allowed to invest their hard-earned money back into it. The adjusted plan. Now, this is the new numbers according to the reorganization plan. As you can see, the stocks and bondholders are going to take a major hit to their money. First, let's take a look at the numbers. Return to existing bondholders and preferred stock. Refunding 4.5%, $1,000. Accrued interest June 1/35, $142.50. Total $1,142.50. Received new bonds $500, 3 shares. Preferred $300, $800. 342.59 shares. Common 38.05. In other words, the common stock must sell for $38.05 per share in order that the refunding bondholder may receive the principal and interest on his investment. First, and refunding 5, $1,000. Accrued interest to June 1/35, $175. Total $1,175. Received new bonds 400, 3 shares. Preferred 300, $700. 475.00, 12 shares. Common at 39.58. In other words, the common stock must sell for $39.58 per share in order that the holder may receive the amount of his investment, principal, and interest. Preferred stockholder 10 shares, $1,000. Accrued dividends $670. $1,670 receives 5 shares, new common, which must sell at $200 per share in order that he may receive the amount of his investment, and at $334 per share in order that he may receive his investment and accrued dividends. No wonder the investors were upset. This was almost a 50 to 60% of their earning potential with these stocks and bonds. In next week's video, we will begin with the investors wanting a reevaluation of the assets of Consolidation Coal Company and how Judge Coleman would rule about doing a reevaluation, as well as he will come down with the final decision about this case. Thank you. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the scandals of the Consolidation Coal Company. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification button. Please double check that you are subscribed, as some of our viewers are finding that they are no longer subscribed to our channel. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.